Hello and welcome back to Boxing Social in association with Betfred. My name is Ayman Khan. We're here in London, Wasserman Boxing, with the one and only Adam Booth, who is not in action, he'll be in the corner for some fighters in action this weekend. First of all, Adam, how's life treating you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. All the better for being here, all the better for speaking to you, Adam. Adam, you've got a number of fighters out in action on Friday night. Let's start at the top with Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly coming on the comeback trail up against an opponent in Veneza. What can we expect to see from Josh Kelly this weekend?
Back to his normal self of expressing his talent competitively under the spotlights and having fun doing it.
In terms of the time that he's had since the defeat to Avanesian, how have you seen him kind of take the lessons from that defeat, learn from that, and then implement that in training when you've had him under the microscope?
Aside from the training, there's just been a huge growth in him as a young man. And the loss to Avanesian is an essential part of his journey and his evolution as a person, not just as a fighter. So it's not necessarily in the gym, it's everything to do with Josh that I've seen has changed.
Do we, as fight fans, as boxing fans, as observers, often neglect that side of how kind of, the outside can affect performances, or the outside life can, and maturity can affect the performances in the ring? Do we have to not see those sides and not put enough stock to that?
I didn't hear the question part of that.
So, in terms of him maturing as a fighter, do we as fight fans, observers, kind of not put enough stock or not realise how much that does impact fighters in terms of kind of learning the game and putting it into their performances?
I think there's some fans out there that do realise how important lifestyle is. Some people don't, but how you live your life and your lifestyle certainly does play out in a professional career. Maybe not in one or two fights, but over a period of time.
In terms of moving up in weight for Josh, how do you think that will affect him in terms of his style? Is he got to adapt in any sort of way? Or?
No, not at all. The weight a fight should be a weight that he's fit and healthy at. So where we've tried super welterweight in the past, his pro debut was over the limit of super welterweight, and we're going back to that. He's had bigger sparring partners, and we're going to see how things progress. You can remember, as we get older, all of us naturally, insidiously or really quickly put on weight, and so we need to see how he is over a period of time.
I can vouch for that myself, certainly trying to shift off some of the weight, but Wasserman Boxing are putting Josh as one of their leading lights moving forward. How far away do you think Josh is from getting back getting towards the world scene, which is the trajectory he was on before he had that defeat?
Well, he's competed at fringe world level already, right, with Ray Robinson and with Avanesian, and we know that's his level now. And with the evolution of him as a man, it's not long before he's back competing amongst that level of opposition.
Eubank as well out in action this weekend. Sean Mashadov, we've seen a lot of experience, been around the circuit. What can we expect to see from Harlem in the ring on Friday too?
Talented, developing, entertaining young fighter with a great personality, great character, unbelievable human being, with speed and energy to burn. Fighters need to have that energy in them to compete with, and Harlem almost has too much of it. But this is all part of his development. He's had a couple of good wins over the last couple of years, and it's now time for him to step out of those sort of shadowy, learning, competitive fights under the spotlight, and being on a terrestrial channel like Channel 5 is ideal for him.
In terms of carrying that Eubank name, obviously Chris has kind of carried it, but Harlem has been one who's not had the scope that Chris has had. Is that served him well in a sense, because he's been able to hone his own craft without the pressure, without the spotlight that the Eubank name carries?
He hasn't used his name to create opportunities for himself. Now, the fact and him being signed by Wasserman is on its own merit as a fighter. The fact that he has that name now helps Wasserman put more of a sparkle onto him when they promote him.
Moving on to Michael Conlon, I've seen a post yesterday, Michael Conlon back in training, looking to get back out in action. How is Michael returning back in action, but when can we expect to see Michael back out soon? Are you waiting for the call?
Yeah, no, his next fight is scheduled to be August 6th.
Okay.
We wanted the rematch with Lee Wood. Doesn't look like that's going to happen, I don't think. I've heard that Lee Wood and his team don't want the rematch, and I've also heard that there are some restrictions because of mandatory position with the WBA. Whatever it is, Michael Conlon's career is still going to have an upward trajectory, and we've got to get on and move on. And we can't change the past, can't control what's not in our control. So just press on, because I think he's proved in his last fight his fighting potential and the level of entertainment and competitiveness that he can achieve is plain to see.
In terms of the options of an opponent for Michael in this comeback fight, Michael's at the position where maybe he can't have a lesser opponent because of the caliber he's had before, but also maybe needs something to get back into before he steps back up. And so what kind of sort of opponent can we expect to see from Michael?
Anything from a rematch with Lee Wood to us choosing an opponent for him to have a comeback fight. And over the next few weeks, that will play out.
Let me get your reaction to a couple of things in the boxing world, Adam. Canelo losing at the weekend to Dimitri Bivol. Let me get your thoughts on that first.
It was always going to be a tricky fight because Bivol was naturally bigger, very strong, very quick, competitive and clever, but fresh as well. I thought Bivol fought a brilliantly technical fight. He was like a technical robot in there. That it didn't matter emotionally or physically what Canelo tried to put on him. He was able to resist it. Canelo was Canelo, but you need to understand that Canelo Alvarez was a super welterweight, 11 stone, and Dimitri Bivol was a natural 12.5 stone light heavyweight. And when you're moving up in weight and you're fighting naturally bigger guys, you have to use more energy just to create a level playing field competitively. And I think that showed out in the fight, that it was a big effort for Alvarez, the same way that the first Golovkin fight was a big effort for him, where he was going in against a naturally bigger man who was a phenomenal puncher. And it was a bit like that, but Bivol was the next level up in terms of size, and very quick, very clever, and very disciplined in what he was doing as well.
Rematch, Triple G fight, what do you think's next for Canelo?
Whatever he wants. He's an all-time great in my eyes. I'd like to see him fight Triple G. I think he wins that third fight much clearer.
By knockout, a lot of people are saying that.
Pardon?
By knockout, a lot of people are predicting that if they fight him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Triple G's never been knocked out. You can't say that. He's always had an iron chin, but I think Canelo's probably got just more left in him. A rematch with Bivol, I think, is a much bigger challenge, because I actually think that Bivol will be better in the rematch, which means that Canelo won't just have to improve on his last performance, but up it again, and that could play him out as a phenomenal fight. But we'll wait and see.
Finally, Adam, just before I forget, a couple more updates from the other fighters, as you say, but Liam Williams, Shannon Courtney, what's the next step for them too?
I don't have any update on them at the moment, because we're waiting for things to play out.
Okay. No worries. Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you for speaking to Box Social. All the best.